boy howdy, do I have a lot of information to speak about and yap. But before I get to that, after being a year in the files, they finally released the Fortnite Battle Bus into Fortnite. And before I get onto the differences, some obvious, some not so obvious, I want to talk about the interior. The back passenger seat for both the passenger and driver side, passengers, it is big. It is not normal to all the other ones because your characters sit to the left of it and to the right of it, respectively, rather than right behind the passenger and driver, which is not how normal SUVs are. Because, the seats are one to one with the passenger and driver side, at least on the same axis. Whereas, you sit more to the left and right on the big back seat, which is very cool. That means this is like a whole entire unique beast of its own, rather than just a copy and paste with some slight changes. And on top of that, you also clip through the posts, of course, on the glass, respectively, for every, seat. Well, you don't clip it through the driver's side, so yeah, because you don't shoot out of the driver's side. But either way, that's a given because, the Behemoth and original SUV do have bars that you clip through. So there's nothing they can do about that. And it's absolutely fine because, it's whatever. Nothing to complain about. But you do clip to the roof, which is funny because it's a big car. So there is that. So you can't shoot from the other side. I don't know how that's going to be handled, but either way, that's funny. And the interior, finishing off, has a crank for the door, which is very cool. Has the little lever, all the bits and bobs for the dashboard, that is, because it's missing a lot of the things from a bus. But I don't know how accurate the dashboard is because they didn't get KITT's dashboard or interior at all correct, which is very unfortunate. Hopefully they fix that, but I highly doubt they'll fix that because, I mean, I feel like anything modeled is just one and done. Textures can change, but models, I don't know about that. Either way, this is also the only car with pedals, at least as far as I know, which is very interesting. I don't know why they just leave out the pedals of every other car, but they do. And they also added the post, which you can't see in Rocket League because the glass is opaque there because they don't want to model an interior in the car, which is absolutely fine. But the post isn't, in Rocket League, but it's not attached to the window, so it's actually inside. That's a very cool detail that they added. So now let's move on to the actual differences besides, the very obvious difference, which is the fact that there's an interior in this car and it's actually drivable. Well, I mean, via being in the driver's seat rather than just being what looks to be an RC car, probably. So the differences will start off with the less obvious ones. I believe the Vendor Tech logo on the hood is inverted in Rocket League for some reason, and not, well, not for some reason in Rocket League, for some reason here. So I don't know why they choose to make a different texture, but they did. Maybe it goes more in line with the actual battle bus in this, the actual game. But I mean, I'm not complaining. It's just a very interesting difference to note. The lights on the top left don't work. Well, the singular light on the top left doesn't work. It's supposed to be very faint, but I just think it doesn't work at all. Maybe I need to look at it a lot more, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem to work. And the wheel size, which is a given because every single SUV has a bigger wheel size for some reason. I don't know why they haven't fixed this yet, but I mean, they still give incorrect wheel sizes. The wheel sizes are a little bit bigger, and they clip to the fender through a lot of the cars, and it's just very unsatisfying to see. But I mean, hey, hopefully they fix that. They fixed the tire treads, which is very cool. For this one in particular, though, it's not fixed. It's just copy and paste of the side to side. I don't know if it's like that in Rocket League, but it's 100% like this in Fortnite, which is very unfortunate. So, yeah, the wheel sizes. There's a light missing on the back, actually, for the right, on the, like, door that hides the rocket booster. Underneath the handle, or, well, beside the handle, there's supposed to be a light there that's busted, but it's not here, which is very unfortunate. But, I mean, it's whatever. It's a small difference, you know? Maybe, you know, one that they didn't need to change, but it's one that they did in fact, change. So that's the thing. And I believe the handle is a little bit different than how it appears in Rocket League, but that's whatever. And besides the posts that cover the driver side and passenger side, which makes sense for the passenger and a little bit for the driver because it would be kind of harder to shoot through the posts, maybe they could have just, I don't know, like changed them a little bit, but I mean, it's whatever. It's one of those obvious changes like the backfire's cab because, they have to make it usable. If those were there, people would be confused as to can they shoot through them or not, and you probably wouldn't be able to shoot through them. So, yeah, but either way, uh, that's an obvious difference. And the final difference is the door. Besides the two opaque bottom windows, which suck ass, which I'll talk about something later, they're supposed to be small in Rocket League, and the top ones are supposed to be long, which is very interesting. But I mean, it makes sense because I believe this is more accurate to how bus doors actually look, and also plus they needed to cover up the bottom, so they couldn't just make like a half opaque glass and half translucent glass that breaks in half in a very weird manner. They rather make an actual more accurate door, which also I believe looks more realistic inherently because they had to change it rather than the goofy cartoonish look that this bus of course has because it's based on the, you know, old style of Fortnite, which you know, I do enjoy, but I'm just very happy that they're adding more realistic props to creative, which is, and also the fact that the game actually does look a lot cooler with the more realistic props. But opinions aside, uh, that's about it for the battle bus. Well, I mean, besides one thing, is that the fact that it has the two wheels on the back. It's like actually four wheels. It's not just they have a wheel that's, copy and pasted. I mean, they do have wheels copy and pasted, but like, they don't just make a wheel that just stays there. They actually make it change with each wheel that you have, and you can actually see a gap between them, which is very cool. At least on some of the wheels, because I mean, some just hide it, but like the Iron Man wheels and the War Machine wheels, you can see the gap. I don't know why these wheels are smaller than the McLaren wheels, but they just are, and that's how it is in Rocket League and Fortnite. So they'd have to change it for two games, but I don't care. I'm never going to use these wheels anyways. I'm only going to use the Pandora and Doctor Doom and the made McLaren Senna wheels when I actually use the McLaren Senna. But besides that yapping, it makes me like confused as to why they didn't do it for the Quadra. But I mean, here we are. I don't think they can change that, and I think that's just what we're gonna have to live with. But it's kind of unfortunate that they didn't do it for the Quadra because they probably could have made it a lot easier on themselves when making the battle bus, rather than actually just having to do it for the battle bus and then leaving the Quadra with a fat wheel on the back. But again, it is what it is. And before I actually talk about the other thing, they fixed the Rosso Corsa decal for the Ferrari. They haven't fixed the wheels jutting out or the grill and air scoop textures, which I hope they do fix, but I mean, I don't think they will. I think we're just going to live with this texture, this inaccurate texture that is different than Rocket League and the actual car itself. So, yeah, but I mean, whatever. But besides that, the final thing before we get into the Rocket League portion of this video is with companions coming in the way, hopefully they make it to where you can see the translucent glass rather than the opaque glass. Ignoring some of the obvious ones like the, six back windows on this bus, which will probably always stay opaque. Hopefully they make these two windows like translucent because I mean, I want to see the car that looks like a car. I don't want to, not see the, the details because I mean this just looks ugly. It looks especially ugly on the Bronco and the kit, which has again the wildly inaccurate interior. So hopefully they do that because with companions being added, only you and your squad mates can see them. So that could lead up to other features that only you and your squad mates could see that enemies don't see, because an enemy would be confused whether they can shoot through this or not. And I believe how it should work is once you're in the car, the textures become translucent, and when you're outside of the car, or when an enemy jumps into your car, they immediately turn opaque, which would be very cool. Because then they're going to fix cars like the Dodge Charger, because there's supposed to be, again, glass behind, or glass covering that top brake light, which is very interesting. Which, by the way, the gray little nubbin part is supposed to be covered by the glass, but I mean, it's whatever. It's supposed to be like the Ferrari, but I think it's good enough as is. So there is that. But this back is disgusting, and this back is disgusting. And Blue Wars, this better release the car for me, but I'm very happy it has kit anyways, and kit in Fortnite, even with the inaccurate interior. So hopefully they do that, because some cars already do have translucent back windows. You know? That'd be really cool. And speaking of windows, before we actually get into the Rocket League portion, sorry for yapping a little bit extra, but they're very weird and iffy with what they choose to be and not be translucent. The back passenger windows are not opaque, even though you can't shoot through them, and there's no reason to see through them, technically speaking. And the sunroof is translucent. So, it, huh? Why? I mean, it's whatever. We have to live with it, but yeah. Hopefully they maybe change that when companions come out. So, yeah. That's about it for the Fortnite portion of this video. Okay, small little intermission, but I forgot to mention something, and I also want to reiterate one of my last sentences. But before I, get to the reiteration, I want to talk about the windshield wipers on the Bronco. For some reason, you can see through them on the inside, because I guess they're just one-sided textures. It's very weird, but I mean, yeah, that's about it for that. And on the reiteration, I'm not complaining about the extra see-through windows. I'm just wondering, like, you know, if these can be see-through, why does the back window have to be opaque and disgusting looking? You know, it's just that's about it. So, I just wanted to make sure that I'm not complaining about these three extra see-through windows that you can't shoot through, because, you know, I'm not complaining about them. Maybe they can change it to where they're opaque for the enemies if they do my idea, but I don't know if they, actually, if there's anyone actually complaining about these like I am, or suggesting something like I am. So, yeah, that's really about it for this portion of the video. Now on to the Rocket League portion, truthfully this time. So as you can see, yes, the VinderTech logo is in fact inverted for Fortnite for some reason. Maybe again it's to be inclined with that battle bus in the actual game, but I mean, either way, yeah. And the wheel textures for the tread is in fact the way it is in Fortnite and Rocket League. So I'm completely fine with it now, especially since it's supposed to be like that. Maybe they might have bugged it here, but I mean, I don't care. If they fix it, they fix it. If they don't fix it, it's whatever. Because, I mean, again, it's a small little thing. I'll be happy if they fix it, of course, and I'll be a little bit sad if they don't, but it's not going to make or break the game for me. And on top of that, the top left light does work. It's very faint, but it does work. So it's weird that it doesn't work in Fortnite. And as you can see, I believe they just flipped the door, like, upside down to get it to work in Fortnite, which is very interesting. So, there's that. And the wheel size. You can also definitely see that the, wheels are only barely touching the back of their respective fenders and almost grazing the front, at least for the back wheels, that is. So, I mean, there is that. And the obvious posts are obvious, so I don't need to talk about them much more than what you can already see. And here's that missing light that is not in Fortnite, but here in Rocket League. It's, where the handle is, of course. So, very interesting that they removed it. It's busted here, so it makes sense, but still, it's weird that they removed it. And I believe the side lights are supposed to work in Fortnite because they look like they're supposed to work here, but of course there's no reverse lights in Rocket League for some reason. But yeah, so that's about it for the battle bus, besides the fact that, well, I don't have access to the normal one, hopefully I do, and or the new decals that are in Fortnite, because there's supposed to be base decals for this bus. And also, I can't change the wheels, probably because they have to make it the dual wheel thing work for, well, Rocket League, as they have made it work for Fortnite. But as is, the bus is pretty customizable still. It's just the wheels and the engine sound, which, by the way, is also how the Bronco is. I don't know why you can't adjust the Bronco's engine, but it's whatever. I always use the OEM engine anyways, besides for one funny moment for the McLaren Senna. And before I finish off this video, the Ferrari 2960 TB does have its glass textures for the headlights and, rear engine finally back, because I don't know what happened to bug them, but they've been bugged. But the passenger windshield and driver's side windows still are missing their textures that, I'll use the Dodge Charger for example. As you can see, the little gray part is covered, which, again, I don't know why Fortnite doesn't cover it with glass, but I mean, it's whatever, you know. I think I'd only hate it if it doesn't look accurate in Fortnite, which then I'd kind of hate that it doesn't look accurate in Rocket League, but I mean, it's whatever. So hopefully they do fix that for these windows, and that's about it for this part of the video, I guess, because I have nothing else to talk about besides the fact of the differences and stuff that I've already noted. So, you know, actually there is one final thing. If I haven't said it before in the other part of this video, sorry to say it again, but you can just skip it. I have delusions that maybe they're fixing Dom Toretto's cab to appear in Fortnite because they've made the obvious changes to the backfire and the battle bus that alter the appearance a lot. But hopefully they do in fact do that, but it's just a delusion. They're probably just withholding the Dom Toretto Charger for no reason. And plus, if they did it for Fortnite, I'd kind of hope they do it for Rocket League, because I really hate how disgustingly squished that cab looks. And on top of that, I really do kind of want the skyline to be adjusted, because it's missing its side view mirrors, and that rocket booster on the back isn't abhorrent, but I mean, I would prefer it to be like the modern day Rocket League, or the booster is hidden and you can barely see it, besides the fact that you're obviously staring at it, because they have they have it covered up. Or in the Ferrari's case, where it's just very small. So, yeah, that's about it, truthfully, for this video now. Yeah.